This is a podcast from the Environmental Change and Security Program at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars.
This is Jeff DeBelko on the Environmental Change and Security Program at the Woodrow Wilson Center in Washington. I recently had a chance to chat with two political scientists about climate change and security, Dr. Henrik Selin, Boston University, and Dr. Stacy VanDeveer of the University of New Hampshire. I asked them about the emerging attention that is being given climate change and security. And as you'll hear from Henrik first, he talks about the real resonance that these issues are getting in the Arctic. And Stacy VanDeveer then follows up with some comments on how the U.S. security community has been tracking these ideas and trying to analyze them and bring that analysis into the policy realm. So there's been a lot of talk with this increased attention for climate change about the subject of whether there are climate and security linkages. I would maintain that, in fact, environmental security, as much as it is back on the agenda, is largely back on the agenda because of the rise of interest in climate change and then for some the links to security. What is your take on the climate and security links? Is it overblown? Is it underappreciated, understudied, a ripe area for further inquiry? Where do you see it going?
I think it's a very important issue, and you're right in that it's probably understudied, that we know broadly that there are connections between the climate change issue and the security issue. But I think much more sort of empirical study and careful analysis is warranted, not just in the United States, but all over the globe. And I think that the climate issue also very clearly illustrates the whole complexity of the security issue. That if you take the Arctic, for instance, as an example, you can definitely say that climate change and Arctic melting is a national security issue in a traditional national security kind of way. That has to do with sea lanes, it has to do with transportation, it has to do with the routes of military ship, mining, conflicts between Russia, Canada, and the United States. At the other sort of spectrum of this other end of the security spectrum, you have the more human security issues, which is very clear when it comes to Arctic indigenous populations and how their traditional lifestyles are being altered by climate change. We're seeing it in Russia, we're seeing it in Greenland, we're seeing it in Canada. So as far as I'm concerned, climate change will increasingly, I think, be viewed as a security issue, both in terms of national security and equally important, if not even more important, as a human security issue.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is that it's been really positive to see the U.S. security community really get much more interested in the climate change issue over the last couple of years. The recent, as you know, Jeff, the recent National Intelligence Assessment, the National Intelligence Council's report on 2030 and its sort of scenarios for the future, all of them feature climate change prominently in the sense that they are saying climate change is something we have to think much more about in terms of its relationship to American security, in terms of its relationship to political stability in many parts of the world. Stresses from environmental change to precipitation change, water access, are all concerns that are highlighted in the reports. And these are reports done by people who work at the Central Intelligence Agency and work in the National Intelligence Council, who have all of the bona fides of being security experts that you need to be heard in their community. And they have been, and I would add that they have been really open to the participation of many academics and many other analysts, so that they have really invited feedback and have begun to deliver some interesting reports. Reports that raise awareness in Washington that this is a very serious issue politically and in terms of its security implications for Americans and for things that many Americans might care about, from the human security end of the spectrum to smuggling in the Arctic or other kinds of issues.
For more information on climate change and security links, come visit us online at www.wilsonCenter.org/ECSP or visit our blog, The New Security Beat, at newsecuritybeat.blogspot.com.